The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. We are back. New York Mets baseball in the zone. I'm Ralph Tyko. It's the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network and the co-host of what I consider to be one damn good podcast. Marty Rose. How are you, Marty?
Very good, Ralph. How are you tonight?
Good. And Robert Cole. How are you, sir?
Doing very good, Ralph. Thank you.
Good. This has been an up and down season, and we've clung to a lot of things, and we've been disappointed. Last night's win was kind of nice. Won't you agree, Robert?
Oh, yeah, for sure. All three games were intense, okay, even though the first one was a bit of a blowout. Saturday, of course, with all the pageantry and the stuff for 9/11. And then last night, the boys were getting a little frisky, and it was a good series.
Yeah.
Last night was a big win.
I called it, they were getting chippy, a hockey phrase,
right,
in honor of George Graham, my co-author of the book that I published on 9/11, but I'm not even thinking about that. I'm thinking just Mets, and it was a good series. Didn't mean to interrupt you there. Your impressions of the series. Before turning it over to Mert, I'm going to tell you my impressions of the series is that Lindor and Baez are keepers. And, we had no choice to keep Lindor, but was very impressed with the way Baez has turned a negative situation where people, including myself, writing negative things about Baez's, just is he a team player, they care about the fans, that sort of thing. He's taken it in the right direction. Mert, your impression?
No, I agree 100%, Ralph. I mean, he's a really, really good player. He's got good power. He's a very good fielder. He had a couple of running on the bases hiccups, but I can't blame him for being overly aggressive. But errors of enthusiasm sometimes set the tone for later on success, because they have to play you a certain way, that sort of thing. It's just gamesmanship is all, and he's a competitor, and I like that. So that bodes well for the future. I want to ask you guys if you are both confident that Syndergaard and DeGrom will return to form. Again, starting with Robert.
Okay, you're talking about in the future, correct? Not just this year?
No, of course. I'm not expecting jack out of them this year. I may be pleasantly surprised, but in the future, we're talking about they're thoroughbreds, and they're an integral part of the future of the New York Mets. I'm more concerned with that than I am what's going on right now.
Well, first of all, with Syndergaard, you have to sign him. He's the free agent.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to make that decision. One of many that the Mets are going to have to make. Do you give him a qualifying offer, based on what? So that's going to be a tough decision that they're going to have to make. DeGrom, yes, I believe he'll get back into form. A couple of the former players were talking the other day, and they said that the Mets are going to have that conversation with him on throwing at 96 and 97 instead of 100 and 101. And that makes sense to me because
absolutely,
he's dominant in 96, 97. He's untouchable at 100, 101. But, if you dial it back a little bit, you might, save a little wear and tear.
It's pitching within yourself. In other words, you might save that 100-mile-an-hour pitch for very special occasions. But there was a period of time when he was striking out X number of people. Nothing wrong with pitch to hit once in a while. It saves a lot of strain. Mike, you once again agree with me because it's not necessary, by the way. Marty.
Yes. Well, I think one factor is they're probably going to have a DH next year. And he hurt himself batting, and a lot of pitchers do. So that's one less thing to be concerned about. So if he does, like you said, dial it down a notch, then he should be fine. I mean, they said that the problem in his elbow had corrected itself. So, but I wouldn't put him out there this year. What's the point? This year's about over. I wouldn't risk it.
I think what they want to do and what they might do is get him to the point where he can come into a game just for his own sake. And the same thing with Syndergaard. I think they're trying to get them both back so that they can throw a pitch or two, an inning or two, for their own mental state. Now if they're in a pennant race going down to the wire, absolutely not. You don't want to put them in situations where they overextend themselves. But if there's a meaningless game somewhere down the road near the last week, I could see that happening.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, change the subject a little bit. Howie Rose is recuperating from some sort of surgery, obviously serious, enough to keep him out for the rest of the year. And he posted a message on Facebook that he is recuperating somewhat arduously, but he has plans to be back next year, and that's good news. So we all love how he is on this podcast.
Ralph, I don't know if Marty's noticing the same thing, but you're kind of drifting in and out where you get very, very faint and then you come back loud again.
Okay, let me put my cell phone in a better position. And I was just saying that Howie Rose is recuperating and nicely from his message that he put out earlier in the day, and hopes to be back next year. And we at this podcast really want to wish him well.
Yeah,
Can't
hear you very good, Ralph. No.
Oh, fuck. I'm trying. Let me go over at a different place. Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to say Howie Rose recuperating from some serious surgery, which is keeping him out of the radio booth for the rest of the year, is, according to his message today, recuperating nicely. He said it's arduous, but he's making progress, and he hopes to be back next year. And I just want to wish him, on behalf of this entire podcast, get well soon. Howie, radio announcers are hard to come by.
Yeah, sure would have been listening to him this weekend if he was there.
Yes.
2 network games. God, terrible.
And not only that, but September 11th, I wish you were there to commemorate Tori and Valentine on the field and what have you. And that made my, goosebumps type thing. Piazza was there. There was even an interview with Alonso and Piazza, kind of bringing the 2 teams together a little bit. And I wish Howie would have been around, available for this one. But September 11th, Mert, you so eloquently penned a description of where you were when it all went down. Would you paraphrase, if you would?
Sure.
On your, and then we'll get to Robert's. What happened with him on September 11th? Mert first.
Sure. I was on my way to work that morning, and took the ferry, Staten Island to Manhattan, and I got the 1 train, which does pass right underneath Cortlandt Street, World Trade Center. And I got off at my stop, 50th Street. I walked down from 7th Avenue down to Rockefeller Plaza. So just before I got into the building, there's like a storefront there with a lot of fireman equipment just before the door on the 51st Street that I walk into. And there's a guy standing there, and he said to me that plane hit the World Trade Center. So, when everybody first heard about it, what do you know? It's an accident. Who knows? Very strange, but so when I got up to my office, put the TV on, and, like just a few minutes later, the second one came in, and, obviously at that point, everybody understood what was happening. And this young female reporter that was outside my office at her desk, she overheard us. She said, "Another one?" I said, "Yeah, it's a terrorist attack." And she turned like white. And like 2 weeks later, she transferred. She was out of New York. She left, went to North Carolina. But, it was incredible listening to the descriptions, the people that were right down there for the news people. And a guy from AP is the guy that photographed that guy that jumped out of the building, the falling guy. Famous AP picture there. And, nobody really knew what to do. Obviously, the stock market's closed. We got no markets report. Phone rings. Guy asks me if there's a markets report, and instead of saying, no, the exchange is closed, I said, no, we're under attack. And the guy said, what? So, but we were. And nobody knew what was going on. Right next door is, Rockefeller Plaza. The 30 Rock is like 70-something stories high. That could have been a target. Nobody knew. And so, anyway, we hung around, got our work done, whatever we could do. And, the phones were all jammed up, couldn't get a hold of anybody. Finally, I got through. And Peggy said from Staten Island they could actually see the building on, burning from the top of Victory Boulevard there where the kids went to school. And, I didn't know how I was going to get home. No idea. Everything below 14th Street was closed. So I got on the F train, 6th Avenue, and I just got on it. I said, well, I'm going to get as far downtown as I can go. And then, they stopped at 14th Street. Everybody out. Okay. See what's out here. And everything was blocked off. I went up to a cop. I said, are there any Staten Island buses anywhere? And he pointed me in the direction. And, it didn't matter if it's your bus or not. Anything going to Staten Island, just get me there. And
right.
Which I did. And, what the guy did was he just went on the expressway and he got off at each exit, to let people off. So, and then I just walked down from the expressway, which wasn't all that far. So, that was my day. And, it was really terrible.
Really terrible. I responded on Facebook to that. It changed our lives forever. Do you agree, Robert Cole?
Yes, I do. I was driving a school bus when that happened, and one of the other drivers got on the radio, and he was listening to a radio, and he said, plane just hit World Trade Center. And so, my first thought was, it was an accident. I wonder what the weather was like. Maybe, it was stormy. And then a few minutes later, he got on again and said, another plane just hit the other tower. Okay, it's not an accident. And, that kind of, set you back. I kind of liken it to, although I was much younger, you guys were too, when JFK was assassinated. And, it's sort of that same numbing, not knowing what was going on kind of feeling.
Yeah. My experience was arriving for traffic school, which I was teaching in Sacramento, California. And I get in there, and there's a surprisingly few amount of people waiting for this class to begin. And I had no idea. I was sleeping in my van the night before, which was adjacent to where I was teaching. And I get up, I didn't put the radio on. I got ready to go in, and I get in, and there's 13 people out of the 40 that are booked. And I said, what the hell? And they said, didn't you hear blah, 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 the two planes? And I went, whoa. And I went right over to a restaurant bar that was open that early in the morning and watched some of it and realized that I've got to get 13 people through traffic school, and which means they've got to get X number of hours of teaching. And I went back and I said, we can do this. I will keep you informed on breaks and what have you of what's going on. And there were 13 people that ended up with a certificate that day that were basically in shock. We didn't, I can remember there was one Arab gentleman who was married to a Jewish woman. And he had all kinds of stuff family stuff going through his head that morning. And it's really crazy. But that moment will always stick in our heads. Like you say, Robert, it's akin to JFK.
Right, yes. Yeah, I had that, that same feeling.
Yeah. On to a little Mets talk. What positive came out of the season thus far that we didn't expect, And what surprised us in a negative way? This time I'll start with you, Robert.
Actually, the same thing. First of all, didn't have great expectations for the season, really. We had hopes, but, just really wasn't sure what was going to happen. The season started off slow, if we remember, and then all of a sudden the Mets were in first place. And there they were, and there were injuries, there were, all kinds of things going on, and they stayed in first place. And then all of a sudden, in almost like a blink of an eye, they weren't in first place, and they were almost out of the race. And so it was sort of, the same thing, only flipped.
Okay. Marty, I'll ask you the same question. What was surprising to you, both in a positive and a negative way?
Well, I had
Doesn't
high
have
hopes.
to be the same thing.
No, I had high hopes in the beginning of the year. I remember when we were picking the number of wins, I believe I said 90. And you said, whoa. Whoa.
For you, that's a lot.
I know.
Because you're very conservative.
I know it's a lot. I really thought that they had it going and they would have it going in the beginning of the year. But then, with all those injuries, how they ever remained in first place, I don't know. Whoever they seemed to put in there did some sort of a decent job, which was very surprising. These guys coming out of nowhere did a very good job.
The Billy McKinneys of the world, who gave them some punch. All of them gave them something. Everybody contributed in some way, and to stay within contention was a miracle in itself. So,
well, a couple of guys that surprised me. I'd have to say that Stroman, in the beginning of the year, I thought he was like a 3 or 4 type starter, and I said that. I think I mentioned this earlier in the year. I said that on Twitter, and he's on Twitter, and he blocked me when I said that. But now I changed my mind. He's been their best pitcher all year. He's been very good, and I hope they could re-sign him because he's a free agent at the end of the year. And then the other big positive surprise was McGill. I never heard of McGill before this year. He just came out of nowhere, and this guy's in the rotation next year. There's no doubt about it.
No, no question.
He looks like the real deal. So, a couple of really good things there. And, of course, the disappointment with DeGrom and even Syndergaard, who you thought was coming back by August. That was a big blow.
Let me
those
just
were the
ask
tough
you,
things.
The Mets are faced with a dilemma. Let's go out on the limb a little bit and put our opinions out there. What to do with Syndergaard and the situation?
I think there's only one. Oh, go ahead, Robert. Go ahead, Robert.
No. I interrupted you that time. Go for it.
Well, I was just going to say there's only one thing that you could do is give him the qualifying offer, because nobody's going to. No, if he's not pitching, who's going to give him nobody's going to give him a long-term contract. You don't know if he's going to throw one pitch out there and his arm's going to fall off. You don't know that. So, the qualifying offer is a fair amount of money, right? $19-20 million, whatever it is. So if they offer him that, he'll probably take it. And if he proves himself worthy and he, stays healthy the whole year, then he can get himself another deal. That's my opinion.
Robert, what do you say?
I'm not sure that they'll even give him a qualifying offer, but they will try to sign him again. Okay, they can non-tender him and then re-sign him. Okay, that's a they're going to have.
It makes him open to the other teams. Am I correct?
Yes, but it also, if you offer him the qualifying offer, he can turn it down and still, look elsewhere too. I don't know who his agent is. They've got a couple of different things there. They have the Conforto problem, where they may want to give him a qualifying offer. You have the thing with Syndergaard. You have to sign Stroman. They have a lot of questions. Baez as well.
Coming back, what to do with him? It's Marty said earlier in the week that you'd buy him out. Is that your opinion still?
Cano?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how much the owner is willing to throw in the garbage can, there's no way of knowing that. But, if there's a DH next year, then there's more of a chance that he's on the team. That's my opinion.
Right.
The other thing with that too is you have a lot of DH potential, so that's a consideration too. You're going to have
Dominic Smith and Alonso. The original, I think, plan is you're going to alternate them at first in DH. Cano comes back now. All of a sudden, that muddles that a little bit. So that they have a lot of questions that have to be answered in this offseason.
Yeah, I don't even know if Dominic. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say Dominic Smith. He's been lousy all year. I mean, what do you do with him?
Somebody on Facebook compared him to Butch Husky, and that didn't make me smile at all.
No.
But that's the realism.
He hasn't hit all year. He really hasn't.
Right. Robert, anything to close with?
Well, I'll just go back to what I said several weeks ago, and it appears to be coming true. The Mets are going to make a run. It's going to be close. It's going to be led by Lindor and Baez, and it has been. And I think it's going to go right down to the wire. My fondest, greatest hope is that going into those last three games, that they're within 3 games. And that would be some series.
That would be a true miracle. And I just want to say, it just came down on the wire that you've been awarded the Nostradamus podcast. And because that's 3 shows in a row that you've mentioned it, but it's true. You absolutely called it, that they would come back and make it a miracle, put us in contention for a miracle. I wish they would have swept the Yankees. That would have been great. I'll take winning the series and put us out on a high note, Marty Rose.
Yeah, well, look, that game, I know they lost it, but it was an incredible day. The game was classic, even though they lost. And, the only bad thing about it was the outcome. But they really seemed to be coming alive. And Lindor, what a game for Lindor yesterday. Unbelievable.
Yes. This was upbeat, and I appreciate that. And we'll see what happens for the rest of the year, but we'll be right on it. Can assure you that. Thanks for listening, everybody. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, the Mets in the Zone, Robert Cole and Marty Rose. Adios, everybody.
Good night.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned Network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.